Now let's go through the process of documenting your observations and findings by filling in the certification form. We'll do this by going step by step through the process of completing Natural Heritage's documentation forms, which you must submit to Natural Heritage in order to get your pool certified. You can get a copy by downloading it from Natural Heritage's website. Section 1 of the form asks for the pool's location. Include the town in which your pool is located, and then give the pool an identifying number. You can call it VP number 1, you can call it Backyard VP. You can give the pool any identifier you choose, but it should be something simple. It won't become an official name for the pool, but you will have to label all supporting documents, such as photos and maps, with this name. If you used Natural Heritage's online potential vernal pool maps to find your pool, there's a place on the form to indicate the number assigned to this pool. If you didn't use the online database map, leave this line blank. Now include written directions to the pool. You will be providing maps, so don't include driving directions here. This is more to help someone find the pool once they've gotten out of the car. Indicate any landmarks that might be helpful. Telephone poles have numbers on them that are unique identifiers. Sometimes that's helpful. Maybe there's a stream crossing and culvert, or a footpath. Make it as easy as possible for someone to find your pool. Include estimated or measured distances if you think they may be necessary. Section 2 asks for the dates on which you visited the pool and the dates on which you observed the species you found there. Of course, if you visited the site only once, all 4 dates will be the same. Section 3 is where you document any obligate species you may have observed in your pool. Even if you're using only facultative species to certify your pool, you may have something to report in Section 3. Maybe you saw egg masses or wood frogs in Amphplexus, but fewer than 5 of them. Natural Heritage would be interested in knowing that, even though this observation is not sufficient for certification of the pool. Notice that Section 3 has 2 parts, Section 3A and Section 3B. Section 3A is where you will report your observations of evidence for breeding populations of obligate species. For the salamander species, you should report the number of courting adults, that is, adults in congress, whether or not spermatophores were present, the number of egg masses, a count or estimate of the number of larvae present, and whether or not you saw transforming juveniles. For each of these, you must also indicate the date or dates of observation. Notice that the 5th row for entering data for salamanders is labeled Unidentified Mole Salamander. The 4 species of obligate salamanders, the spotted salamander, the blue-spotted salamander, the Jefferson salamander, and the marbled salamander, are all called mole salamanders. So if you can't identify specifically which of the 4 obligate species you've observed, but you know it's one of the 4, or if you can't precisely identify the eggs or spermatophores, but you know that they're from one of the 4 mole salamanders, you can use this row in the table. The same is true for larvae and for transforming adults. Near the bottom of Section 3A is the row used to enter observations related to wood frogs. Fill in the boxes in this row with information from your observations. There are boxes for the number of mated pairs you observed, the number of egg masses, the number of tadpoles, or an estimate, and whether or not you recorded chorusing frogs or saw transforming juveniles. Be sure to include the dates of your observations. Remember that when documenting 5 or more egg masses, you can add together the egg masses from mole salamanders and wood frogs. If you observed fairy shrimp, enter the date of the observation in Box 3B. Box 4 is where you enter information related to any facultative species you may have observed. Even if you have sufficient evidence that obligate amphibians are breeding in your pool, in other words, even if you feel you don't need facultative amphibians to support your application, you should still document your observations of facultative species. Any information you have about the biology of the pool is useful information for natural heritage, even if it's not necessary for certification. For each of the 4 facultative species that you observed, list the date of the observation and the type of evidence you observed. The types of evidence are chorusing, at least 5 pairs in amplexus, and any number of egg masses, tadpoles, or juveniles with tail remnants. Box 5 provides an opportunity to report any rare or endangered species you may have found. A full list of these species can be found on Natural Heritage's website at www.nhesp.org. Remember, 3 of the obligate salamander species, the Jefferson salamander, the marbled salamander, and the blue spotted salamander, are listed as either threatened or of special concern. If you've seen evidence of any of these salamanders, you should fill out a rare animal observation form, also available on Natural Heritage's website. In Box 6, enter the length, width, and depth of the pool. Actual measurements or estimates are acceptable. Also note any distinctive features that would help a person locate and recognize the pool. Is it beside a foot trail? Maybe there's a telephone pole nearby. Telephone poles have unique identifying numbers. These numbers make telephone poles very useful in specifying locations. Maybe there's a large and distinctive boulder at one end of the pool, or maybe there's a pasture nearby. Note anything that might help others know that this is the pool you mean. The next series of boxes asks you whether the pool is natural or not. If you're not sure, you can indicate that. Is the pool a permanent pool? Most vernal pools dry out annually or every couple of years. To the best of your knowledge, does this pool dry out in most years? Does much of it become dry in most years, or is it always filled with water? If the pool has inlets and outlets, describe them here. Be sure to indicate if any of these inlets or outlets exist only during times of high water. What kind of land is adjacent to your pool? Which categories of land use are within 100 feet of your pool? In Part 7, you must indicate what kind of documentation you're submitting to Natural Heritage. You must supply clear photographic proof of any species you're claiming to be present, or in the case of frog species, clear audio recordings of chorusing. Both photos and audio recordings should be submitted if you have both. Label each photo or recording. Include your name, the town in which your pool is located, the date the photo or recording was made, the species in the photo or on the recording, and the name or number of your pool. The name or number of your pool is the one you assign to it in box number 1 of the form. If you used the potential vernal pool map to find your pool, indicate the number that map assigns to your pool. Use the first row of checkboxes to indicate the kinds of evidence you're submitting: photos, videos, and/or audio recordings. Use the second row of checkboxes to indicate whether you're submitting evidence of obligate species, facultative species, or both, and whether you're including photos showing your pool holding water and your pool when it's dry. In Part 8, you indicate which maps you've included with your submission. You must include a topographic map that includes the area of your pool, even though your pool probably won't actually appear on the map. The scale of the map must be 1 to 24,000 or better. Indicate the location of your pool on the map. You must also include a color orthophoto that includes the area of your pool. Again, indicate the location of your pool on the orthophoto. The scale of the orthophoto must be 1 to 12,000 or better. Topographic maps and orthophotos may be downloaded from the MassGIS online data viewer. Instructions for finding and downloading maps are available on Natural Heritage's website in the document Guidelines for the Certification of Vernal Pool Habitat. You must also include the GPS longitude and latitude coordinates of your pool, or one of the following: a sketched map that includes your pool and the surrounding area, an assessor's map that includes your pool, or a professional survey that includes your pool. If you submit a sketch, include easily identifiable landmarks and directions and distances from those landmarks to your pool, so that others can easily find it. If you're submitting an assessor's map, indicate the map number and the parcel number. If you're including evidence of chorusing in your submission, Indicate on your map the location where the chorusing occurred. Filling in Part 9 of the form is optional and may be left blank. It asks for information about the ownership of the land on which the pool occurs. This information is available from the local tax assessor's office. Finally, Part 10 of the form asks for some information about you. When you're done, don't forget to sign the form. Send your completed form and documentation to Natural Heritage. Their address can be found on the form.